Poverty is not born in your wallet. It is born in your mind. Disease, too, begins not in the body but in the thoughts you permit to dwell in silence. You cannot think sickness and expect health. You cannot hate and expect peace. Every destructive thought is a silent assassin, chiseling away at your vitality, your confidence, your future. The battlefield is within you. Your thoughts are either weapons or wounds. If you think fear, you feel it. If you think weakness, you live it. A man is not defeated by the world. He is defeated by his own belief in defeat. Your mind right now is manufacturing your health or your ruin. What are you allowing it to build? You are not poor because the world made you so. You are poor if you are, because you have accepted the poverty of thought. No man is chained by circumstance unless he first shackles himself with belief. Health, wealth, peace, and power do not belong to the fortunate few. They belong to those who claim them with the fire of a definite purpose and the steel of unyielding belief. The outer world is but a mirror reflecting the silent dominion of your inner dialogue. Every cell of your body obeys the vibration of your thoughts. Every event in your life is a servant to the image you hold in your mind. You can curse fate, or you can command it. You can beg life, or you can build it. The mind is your master key. In its grip, you either unlock the doors to health, joy, and abundance, or you imprison yourself in doubt, weakness, and decay. Fear is not merely an emotion. It is a spiritual poison, a mental infection, a thief that robs you in the silence of your own thoughts. It does not shout, it whispers. It does not strike, it seeps. Like water finding cracks in stone, fear seeps into the crevices of your consciousness and shapes your destiny without your permission. And if you do not master it, it will master you not only in your finances, not only in your relationships, but in the sacred temple of your health. Understand this: every thought you think is a command to your body. The cells of your being do not question your mental instructions, they obey them. If your thoughts are filled with fear, worry, and doubt, you are writing the blueprint for weakness, for stress, for disintegration. You are becoming the architect of your own suffering, and worse still, you are doing it unknowingly. Fear breeds tension. Tension breeds disease. That is no metaphor, that is law. The nervous system, the bloodstream, the rhythm of the heart, they respond not to what happens in the world, but to what you believe about what happens. Two men can live through the same storm. One walks through it with faith in his purpose. The other trembles beneath it with fear in his bones. One emerges stronger, the other falls ill. Why? Because fear is not just mental, it is chemical. It poisons the bloodstream, contracts the muscles, starves the organs of vitality. Do you see now? Fear is not just uncomfortable, it is deadly. It is a traitor that lives in your own camp, and yet men feed it daily. They feed it through gossip, through complaint, through pessimism. They give it strength by imagining the worst, by expecting defeat, by rehearsing failure in the theater of their mind. They wake up and dress themselves in anxiety. They lie down and sleep beside worry, and still they ask why success eludes them. Still they wonder why their bodies ache, why their spirit is weary, why their lives feel dimmed. It is not fate, it is fear. Let us call it what it is. Fear is faith in reverse. It is belief in defeat. It is trust in failure, and any mind that trusts failure will produce exactly that, not as punishment, but as proof of its own loyalty to the idea. You cannot harbor fear and expect power. You cannot dwell in worry and receive wellness. The two are opposites, and the mind, like a garden, will not grow both weeds and fruit in harmony. One must dominate. You must choose your master. Now ask yourself, what am I allowing to live in my mind? You were not born with fear. A child knows nothing of doubt. It reaches for the impossible and smiles. It learns fear from its surroundings, from voices that say, "Be careful. Don't dream too big." That's not for people like us. These voices become internal echoes. They form a pattern, a habit of hesitation, a reflex of small thinking, a lifestyle of limitation. But hear this truth: what was learned can be unlearned. What was planted by others can be uprooted by you, but you must take the spade of awareness and dig. Replace fear with desire. Feed your mind with a definite purpose, so strong, so vivid, so consuming that fear cannot find space to breathe. A burning desire backed by faith is the antidote to fear. It builds instead of breaks. It energizes instead of weakens. When a man knows what he wants and believes that he will get it, the body responds. The back straightens, the chest expands, the pulse quickens with power. Life organizes itself around such a man. Persist, persist when the fear shouts, persist when the evidence is missing, persist when the crowd calls you mad, for fear is loudest just before it dies. It senses its execution and makes a final plea. But persistence is louder, desire is stronger, and faith is undefeatable. Do not wait for fear to leave before you act. It will not. Action is the only cure. Fear cannot survive in motion. It feeds on paralysis, on overthinking, on delay. But when you move, when you decide, fear begins to shrink like mist before the morning sun, and the more you move, the more the mind aligns with power, with health, with achievement. In this way, your thoughts no longer destroy your health. They build it, they protect it, they fuel it. You were not made to cower. You were made to create. The power that formed galaxies lives within your mind. What you dwell upon, you become. What you expect, you attract. What you fear, you invite. So I ask you now, what are you thinking? What image are you allowing to rule your body, your days, your destiny? For in that answer lies your future. Indecision is not a pause. It is a poison. It is the slow rot of the will. It is the silent decay of desire. When a man hesitates between two choices, he opens the door to doubt, and where doubt enters, faith flees. No man ever built a towering life on a trembling thought. The world does not reward the thinker who waits. It rewards the thinker who acts. The universe itself is decisive. The sun does not deliberate before it rises. The seed does not question whether to grow. Life moves forward with certainty, and so must you. Indecision is rebellion against this eternal rhythm. It chokes the breath of purpose, and where purpose withers, decay begins, not just in ambition, but in health, in character, in the very fabric of your being. Understand this: your body listens to your mind. And when the mind is trapped in the fog of indecision, the body reflects its confusion. Energy wanes, motivation dims, the immune system weakens. Why? Because your subconscious cannot serve two masters. It must be given orders. It must know what to build. A mind that wavers sends mixed signals, and nature punishes uncertainty. It does not nurture the seed that doubts itself. It does not strengthen the will that refuses to command. How many lives have crumbled not from failure, but from failure to decide? A man who cannot decide lives in permanent delay. He stands at the crossroads, peering into the distance, waiting for the perfect sign. But perfection never arrives. The clouds of uncertainty do not part for the fearful. Time moves on, and so do the opportunities he failed to grasp. Each moment of hesitation is a nail in the coffin of destiny. Each excuse to postpone is a vote for mediocrity. Indecision is not harmless. It is a thief dressed in disguise, stealing your time, your clarity, your future. Decision is power. It is movement. It is the oxygen of achievement. When you decide, truly decide, you set unseen forces into motion. Your subconscious awakens, your senses sharpen. The world seems to rearrange itself around your intention, not because of magic, but because of alignment. You are no longer fighting yourself. Your desire and your action begin to walk in step, and persistence, born of decision, becomes your companion. Let us speak plainly. Indecision is born of fear, fear of failure. fear of judgment, fear of discomfort, but fear is a liar. It promises safety and delivers regret. The man who delays action to avoid failure ends up failing without even trying. He is not protected, he is paralyzed. Fear will give you reasons, faith gives you results. You must learn to decide swiftly and change decisions slowly, if at all. The successful know what they want and demand it of themselves. They do not wait for permission. They do not drown in opinions. They follow the still, strong voice within the voice of purpose. Purpose is a compass, and when you follow it, the fog of indecision lifts. You do not need to see the entire path. You need only to move. One clear step ignites the fire. One act of courage breaks the chains of delay. Indecision is comfort's cousin. It feels safe. It allows you to stay in the warm cave of inaction, but nothing grows in comfort. Greatness is not a gift. It is a choice repeated daily. The world will always tempt you with maybe. Your job is to answer with yes or no. Nothing in between. Maybe is the language of the weak. Maybe is a lullaby that rocks your potential to sleep. There is no secret to success that does not begin with decisive thought. To have a desire is not enough. You must have the will to claim it, and the claiming begins with decision. Not once, not when convenient, but always. Every day, in every moment, you are either deciding to rise or deciding to remain. No choice is a choice, and often it is the worst kind. Think of the great builders of industry, the leaders of movements, the pioneers of invention. They were not always the smartest, but they were certain. Their minds were made, their course was set, and that mental momentum carried them through the storms that stopped lesser men. Why? Because indecision makes small problems appear large. Decision makes large problems appear solvable. The moment you decide, fear begins to shrink. You no longer stare at the mountain, you begin to climb it. Let this truth burn into your mind. Nothing weakens a man faster than doubt in his own direction. You must train your mind to trust your voice. The same way a muscle grows with resistance, your decision-making power grows with use. Do not fear wrong decisions. Fear no decision. You can correct a course in motion, but a ship that never sails rots in harbor. You were born with the gift of choice. Do not squander it. Do not wait for certainty. It is the luxury of those who never begin. Build your faith. Sharpen your desire, define your purpose, and with persistence as your shield, decide. Decide boldly, decide consistently, decide as if your life depends on it, because it does. Self-doubt is not an innocent thought. It is not a moment of modesty, it is not humility. Self-doubt is a traitor that whispers in your own voice and disguises itself as caution. It creeps into your mind like a shadow at dusk, subtle, quiet, unchallenged. And before you recognize its presence, it has already robbed you of your energy, your ambition, your life, force, self. Doubt is the invisible enemy of vitality. It does not strike with noise. It drains you in silence. The man who doubts himself has already been defeated before he takes the field. He will not pursue greatness, for he questions his right to it. He will not persist, for he is unsure it is worth the effort. He will not believe, for he has learned to distrust his own judgment, and yet he blames his results on circumstance, on luck, on fate, never suspecting that the saboteur lives within. Vitality is power, awe, unfiltered, electric. It is the fire in the eyes of the man who knows what he wants and believes that he will have it. That fire cannot be kindled in the presence of self-doubt, for doubt smothers desire. It is the wet blanket on the spark of ambition. It replaces movement with hesitation, clarity with confusion, action with delay. And what is vitality, if not forward motion in the direction of a definite purpose? A man's health, too, is not merely measured by the strength of his limbs, but by the force of his thoughts. The body reflects the mind always, and when the mind is riddled with doubt, the body loses its edge, the step slows, the shoulders slump, the breath shortens. Doubt is not just mental, it is physical. It lives in the blood, it dulls the nerves, it corrodes the will to live fully, to push forward, to grow. A doubting mind sends mixed instructions, and the body, confused, obeys uncertainty, and so vitality diminishes, not because of disease, but because of disbelief. You must come to see self, doubt for what it truly is, a parasite. It does not create, it only consumes. It feeds on your dreams, on your confidence, on your purpose. It is a thief that enters through the unguarded door of the mind and convinces you that you are not enough. And once you believe that lie, every action you take becomes smaller, safer, and slower. You begin to aim low. You begin to speak softly. You begin to hide your greatness behind excuses. And all the while, life waits impatiently for you to rise. Faith then is the antidote, faith in yourself, faith in the unseen, faith in your power to decide and create. Faith is not blind, it is bold. It says, I will move forward, not because I see the whole path, but because I trust the voice within. That voice must be trained. It must be strengthened. You must speak to yourself as one who commands respect. You must replace doubt with declaration. Do not say, I hope I can. Say, I will. Do not ask, am I ready? Say, I decide I am. Your subconscious mind, the silent partner in your every endeavor, accepts what you repeat. Feed it doubt, and it will sabotage your efforts. Feed it faith, and it will fuel your progress. The subconscious is loyal. It will carry out whatever orders you give. But it cannot distinguish between truth and repeated lies. Self-doubt is a lie told often enough that the mind accepts it as law. It is your duty to break that law, and you break it with purpose. A man with a definite purpose does not have time to entertain doubt. His focus is forward, his heart is lit with desire, his path is paved with persistence. He moves as one who expects results. Even in failure he finds fuel, even in resistance he discovers growth. Doubt tries to slow him but cannot stop him, because he does not stop himself. Ask yourself, where did your doubt begin? Who handed it to you? Whose voice first planted that poison in your mind? Was it a parent, a teacher, a critic, a failed attempt? Understand this. That voice was not yours. You adopted it, you allowed it, but you do not have to keep it. You can choose a new voice, the voice of your higher self, the voice that says, I am capable, I am chosen, I am powerful, I am enough. The moment you declare that with conviction, you take back your vitality. You reclaim your energy, you rewrite the program that runs your life, you stop seeking proof and begin becoming the proof. Self-doubt needs evidence to survive. It clings to the past, but faith lives in the future. It builds from vision. It is not concerned with what has been. It is concerned only with what can be and will be if you persist. Do not wait for confidence to arrive. It is not a guest, it is a creation. You build it brick by brick, thought by thought, step by step. Each time you act in spite of doubt, you weaken it. Each time you speak with boldness, you silence it. Each time you hold your head high and move forward, you destroy it. You are not merely what you do, you are what you think about most. The dominant thoughts you allow to live in your mind shape the very essence of who you are. They mold your habits, your choices, your health, your future. You are the product of your mental focus, and whether you admit it or not, you are always becoming something. The question is what? Every thought is a seed, and the soil of your mind does not discriminate. It does not ask whether the thought is worthy or worthless, fruitful or poisonous. It simply grows what you plant. If you dwell upon worry, you cultivate anxiety. If you dwell upon resentment, you harvest bitterness. If you dwell upon defeat, you attract failure, but if you dwell upon power, you build it. If you dwell upon health, you strengthen it. If you dwell upon your purpose with unwavering belief, you become unstoppable. You may fool the world with your words, but you can never fool your subconscious. It hears what you dwell upon in secret. It receives your inner dialogue like sacred instruction and begins to move your entire being in the direction of your most consistent thoughts. The man who constantly thinks about lack will walk, talk, and live as though poverty were his destiny. The man who constantly thinks about greatness will begin to embody greatness, even before the world sees it. The outer world bends to the inner narrative. Life follows thought. You must come to see the mind as a workshop. In it, you are the craftsman and the critic, the laborer and the architect. But if you allow the workshop to run wild, if you let any thought wander in without permission, then your creations will be chaotic. They will reflect confusion, contradiction, and fear. Order begins with attention. Focus is the gatekeeper, and your destiny begins with what you choose to dwell upon. Most men do not choose, they react. They allow the news, the gossip, the failures of yesterday, and the fears of tomorrow to take up residence in their minds. These thoughts are squatters. They do not pay rent. They produce nothing of value, but still they stay because they are not evicted, and while they remain, they shape the man into their own image. A man who constantly replays past mistakes will become a reflection of regret. A man who constantly fantasizes about revenge will become a prisoner of bitterness. A man who dwells upon excuses will become addicted to limitation. But just as the mind can be polluted, it can also be purified. Just as it can be hijacked, it can be trained. Begin with desire. A burning desire, when fed daily, becomes a magnetic force. It pulls your attention forward. It disciplines your thinking. It crowds out doubt and noise. When you fix your mind on a definite purpose, you begin to harness the power of persistence. You become selective about the thoughts you entertain because you understand that your attention is your life energy. You guard it, you direct it, and what you direct it toward, you inevitably become. Faith, then, becomes the foundation, not faith in chance, but faith in law. The law that thoughts become things, the law that the mind, once focused, can move mountains. The law that says you will attract into your life whatever you consistently dwell upon with emotion and belief. Faith is not passive, it is active alignment with your highest vision, and it begins the moment you reject the thoughts that shrink you and choose the thoughts that expand you. Imagine your mind as a garden. Would you ever allow weeds to flourish unchecked? Would you water them, speak to them, give them your energy? No, you would pull them out by the root. And yet, many nourish thoughts of unworthiness, resentment, and fear every day. Then wonder why their life bears no fruit. The law is exact. What you dwell upon grows, what you ignore withers. What you refuse to entertain loses power. The gardener must be ruthless with weeds and devoted to the harvest, and let it be known, the harvest does not come in a day. The man who plants greatness must persist. He must water his vision with discipline, with gratitude, with belief. He must feed it with affirmations, nourish it with purposeful action, and protect it from the pests of doubt and distraction. The process is invisible before it is visible. Your thoughts begin to change your energy. Your energy begins to change your behavior, and your behavior changes your results. Slowly, silently, consistently, you become the very thing you once imagined. You do not need permission to begin. You do not need proof to believe. You need only to decide what you will dwell upon from this moment forward. Think health and your body will move to meet the thought. Think abundance and your actions will start to reflect it. Think love, power, faith, vision, and watch as life reshapes itself around the image in your mind. You are not your past, you are not your failures, you are not the voice of those who doubted you. You are the sum total of what you dwell upon daily. Change the thought, and you change the man.